That's good.
Absolutely. Without further ado, I'll turn over to Coach Muschamp and for his announcements.
Well, first of all, I apologize for being late. We're out. It's the first day we go back out recruiting, so we hit some stuff this morning and wanted to get back to make a couple announcements. I want to first of all announce that as our 10th coach, Kyle Krantz will be a special teams assistant, coach our Sams and Nichols. Kyle's been with me for 5 years. Started out on the offensive side of the ball, has worked in all forms of special teams, been on the defensive side of the ball the past 4 years. And as far as work ethic is concerned, a coordinator's mentality, he's a grinder, a worker. He thinks like we think is probably the best thing I would say, and I'm glad that he and Brittany are going to continue to move forward being Gamecocks. So I'm really excited about him. I really felt like we needed more help on special teams, and obviously he understands our schemes and system, and excited about him to be able to. Some weeks we're working strictly with a Sam backer, and it's got a different skill set and fundamentals and techniques that he's going to be able to spend time with that player. A nickel situation where a lot of times T-Rob or myself are spending half the time with the safeties or half the time with the corners and then trying to work with the nickels because it is a different skill set and fundamentals and techniques. So it's good to have Kyle continue on board with us. We're excited about him. He's a really good evaluator and is going to work extremely hard for us. Also going to welcome back Marcus Lattimore, one of the greatest Gamecocks of all time, to be Director of Player Development, working on life skills in our Beyond Football program. So this is a home run for us. Marcus is a guy that I don't know that, you know, as far as mentoring players and dealing with tremendous success and triumph, but also dealing with tremendous tragic and adversity. And he has done both of those here at the University of South Carolina. This is a win for our athletic department. This is a win for our university. It's a win for Columbia. It's a win for the state of South Carolina. But being around him, he's got an infectious personality. He positively affects everyone around him. Excited about having his wonderful wife, Miranda, back being a Gamecock. She never left, but we're excited to have both of them back in our program. I tell our staff all the time, if it weren't for the players, we wouldn't have a job. So it's our job to service the players, and I believe in outlets for our players. And Marcus is going to be a tremendous asset for our student athletes and the different things that they face in their college career here at the University of South Carolina. But a guy that could have gone anywhere he wanted to go, and he wanted to stay at home here at the University of South Carolina, be a Gamecock. And in the 2 years I've gotten to know him, the thing that really strikes out at me, he loves the University of South Carolina. He loves this state. He loves being a Gamecock, and he understands how special this place is. And it's great to have him and be able to share his message with our student athletes. Now, and I'll finally will end with, I want to thank President Pastides and the Board of Trustees, Coach Tanner, for continuing to support our program and invest in us and moving this program forward. We're excited about where we are, but we're extremely excited about our future, and I certainly want to personally thank all of them for their support. And Marcus, if you want to open it up with anything.
Absolutely. It's very warm in here, so I don't know how you guys sit
Steve
in here.
Fink doesn't turn the air down.
Yeah, I don't get it. But again, just to reiterate off of what Coach said, I'm so excited to be back. I thank him, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Coach Tanner and Coach Pastides as well. I'm really looking forward to this position. I really am, because I empathize with every single player in that locker room. I know what they go through. I know what it's like to go through a 6 a.m. workout and be able to go to class, then go to practice, and then go to training table. It's a tough grind that these guys go through. And, you know, to be able to be player development and director of Beyond Football, it's going to be amazing, because I'm looking to set these guys up for life after. And I'll be assisting in that aspect of their life. When a recruit comes to visit South Carolina, I will sit him down. I will sit his family down. I'll let all of them know that, you know, I'm not looking at what they're doing on the field. We take care of that because we have amazing coaches, but I'm looking at the next 40 years of their life and what I can do to help them and prepare them for that. So if you guys have any questions for me about what I'll be doing, that'll be
Raise
great.
your hand, we'll get a microphone to you for questions for you to Coach Muschamp for Marcus. David with the first one.
Marcus, welcome back.
Thank you.
I believe there was a consideration for this position to happen earlier, but the NCAA said no. What has changed that this can now be allowed?
I believe in timing, and you You know, God has put me in a perfect position. I'm just so blessed to be here now. You know, there's so many things that had to happen, but we've been able to work it out, and you know, everything. I'll be able to keep my foundation, which I'm excited about, and keep that running. That's something I want to do, you know, for generations to come. You know, it's something I hopefully can pass down to my future son or future daughter whenever that happens. But whatever we do with the foundation, it'll be fully compliant with the NCAA. So it just really worked out this time. There was numerous things.
Go to back there, Mike.
Now, Marcus, you met with your players yesterday, Heathwood Hall. I know that was important to you to be able to let them know that information. What was that moment like? And if there's anything that you can share with us, what were some of those messages?
Right. And again, Heathwood, you know, I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I had there to work with those kids, and you know, just a great staff there as well, Chris Hinchy and Jeff Whalen. You know, it was a tough day. It really was, because I connected with, you know, from the 5th grade all the way up to my seniors. We all had a connection. They all made an impact on my life, and I told them that. And you know, they really changed me, and I grew. I grew as a human being, and I think I became a better person. Being that there, we had a lot of adversity, we had some success, and I shared with those guys that to keep this thing going, you know, keep it rolling, and don't look at this as a setback. You know, look at this as an opportunity. So.
Marcus, here in the back, what can you take from your previous role at Heathwood and running your foundation and help apply it to your position here to help young student athletes?
Yeah, numerous things. I believe that with the organization and, you know, some things that you have to do, some things you don't think about as a head coach, which I was last year, those things I've been able to sharpen up my toolkit, as I would say, and you know, with my foundation, some of the logistics and planning of things to help athletes. I've been doing it for a while, and you know, with the Beyond Football program, there's going to be 3 components of it. It's you know, trying to make sure every guy leaves this program and they have self-awareness. They know who they are as a human being, and they find their identity. And they will know the importance of service, the importance of giving back. And I think, you know, that's something that, you know, because this state of South Carolina, they love football, they love sports, and sports means a lot to the people in this state. So serving those people and giving back to those people, that provides opportunity. And I want them to know that. And obviously, the biggest component will be their professional development. You know, helping them find meaningful employment after they graduate, and be able to help them and guide them and navigate them through all of that. So,
actually, this question is actually for Coach Muschamp in terms of Lattimore joining this program. Coach over here, Coach, why did you feel like this position was so important to kind of create this opportunity for Marcus and have this impact on the program?
Well, I think it goes a lot further than Saturday afternoon to me, and that's the most important thing to understand. And it's about educating a young man for the rest of his life, not about 3 or 4 or 5 years here at the University of South Carolina, but educate him for the rest of his life. And this part of it is exactly what Beyond Football says. It's beyond Saturday afternoon. It's beyond the workouts. It's beyond the practices. It's about real life things that we've got to deal with. And Marcus I told him, take it and run with it. There's some programs we've got in place that are good, and I want him to continue to improve these programs. But him being a Gamecock and again, like I said before, facing adversity and facing success and all the things that he's gone through, there isn't a better example, in my opinion, to talk to our players and mentor our players moving forward.
Marcus, even after your first opportunity to come back was denied a couple of years back, did you always kind of have it in your mind that you would end up in some capacity back with this program one day?
You know, I love this university. I love this football team. I love the people here. And I always want to be connected to this university no matter what. When there was an opportunity and a possibility that I may be able to come back, I was so excited. And that stuck in the back of my mind for a long time, for sure.
For both Will and Marcus. Will, you've already shown you promoted from within today. Could Marcus one day get back on the field as an on-field coach? And Marcus, is that something that you'd like to do one day?
Sure. I think that, Marcus and I talked about the possibilities when you get on the university scale from a coaching standpoint, from an administrative standpoint, from a fundraising standpoint. I think this opens a lot of doors for him. How old are you?
26.
26 years old, so he's young, and he got a lot of living to do. So, and a lot of times when you're 26, you're still searching for exactly what avenue you want to head down, and I think this opportunity certainly is going to provide that for him.
I don't think it's any secret that I love the game of football. I've been playing it since I've been 7 years old. But right now, this is where God wants me. This is what God wants me to do, and I'm going to take it. And everything that I do in my life, I do it 100%. And I want these guys to leave this university knowing who they are as a human being. And, personal and professional development is my assignment right now. That's all I got to say about that.
Marcus, I think you told Mike the other day that being an NFL general manager is possibly something you'd be interested in. Could you expand on that a little bit?
That's definitely something that has been in the back of my mind. When I was young, I got the opportunity to talk to an NFL GM, and at that time, Joseph Adai was a player that I admired greatly, and Bill Polian was the guy that I had a conversation with, and he just made a huge impression on me, and we had a long conversation about the inside, I guess the inside logistics of being a general manager, and what it takes to get to that point. But as of right now, this is my assignment, and
Will, how important was it to you that the university rewarded you for a great 2 seasons, but also your staff, and specifically to lock in T-Rob for 3 years?
Well, I think in any time that you show support and appreciate the job that our staff has done, and I'm excited again, like I said, where we are, but more than anything, moving forward. And you've got to invest in order to get the return you want and continue to build this program to where we're going.
Will, Marcus mentioned it a little bit, but just what kind of an asset is it to be able to bring a recruit in who can talk to a guy like Marcus and lay out some of sort of that kind of life plan stuff?
Well, I think as much as anything is his story says it all. And here's a guy that could have probably had all the aspirations in the world to go play on Sunday afternoon, and certainly had the ability and the drive and all the intangible things you want to have, and things happen. And some tragic events happen in his life, and all of a sudden that dream is not there anymore. So now what are you going to do? And at the end of the day, less than 4% of everyone playing college football make it more than 4 years in the National Football League. So the NFL dream is a pipe dream at best. And for our parents to be able to listen to his story, and for our players to be able to relate with him on a day-to-day basis and understand there's more outside of Sunday afternoon, I think is really important.
Will, Marcus talked about how when you got here, or even before you got the job, one of the things you wanted to do was getting him in here in some capacity. What did you know about Marcus, aside from the things that people, maybe the media know? Of course, like the SEC coaches, I'm sure they talk, but what did you know about Marcus Lattimore, the person?
Well, I mean, I've heard obviously nothing but great things, and then you meet Marcus, and again, like I said, he's got an infectious attitude, a personality, positively affects everybody around him, every leadership trait you want in someone within your organization. That's why I wanted him to be a part of our organization in some form or fashion, and this turns out to be the best situation at this time.
Marcus, from the moment that this became a reality, when did you start to brainstorm ideas, come up with what you hope to give back to the players who you already have some relationships with but are going to know a lot closer? How exciting is this process of coming up with ideas and thinking of how to work with them for you?
About 2 years ago. That's when it really started, and I just really thought about what I would have wanted as a player, and what those guys need, because it's hard being a collegiate football athlete. They go through so much, and they have little time. So to be able to maximize their time, be able to build their network while they're here, be able to reach out to alumni who could possibly be a mentor in the field that they want to go into one day. Those things are important, and those things really show you your purpose. You know, when you're able to serve in the community, when you know who you are as a human being, and again, when you reach out to former alumni who've been in their shoes and who are, I reached out to plenty of them. They're willing to assist, and you know, help these guys navigate through life. So.
Marcus, how cool is it for you to be able to be on the same team in the same organization again with Bobby Bentley?
It's awesome. It really is, and you know, obviously, I've known Coach Bentley since I've been 7 years old, and I've known his whole family and Chase. We've all been great friends, and you know, the impact that he had on me, I wouldn't be sitting in this position that I'm in today. And I mean, this whole organization. I mean, from top to bottom, the coaches, the strength staff, everybody involved in this organization is just first class. And you know, I've been in a position in my life. I'm in a position in my life right now where I'm trying to learn as much as possible, better myself, and you know, the traits, humility, you know, all of those things that come with a great organization. It's exemplified here. And I'm, you know, just so happy to be a part of it.
Back to left, Pete.
Will, what did you think of the championship game? Were you a little disappointed that Georgia couldn't get it done?
Well, no, it was a great game. You know, I didn't say I was pulling for anybody, I think, but it was a heck of a football game, and came down to two SEC teams. You know, so it was a heck of a game.
I have one for each. For Marcus first, what does it mean to you to join a program like this that you are so close to and that is on the rise? And for Will, what does Marcus bring to the program that was missing?
It's awesome. It really is. And, you know, Coach Muschamp talks about it all the time. It's all about the players. What can we do for the players? And, I mean, just to have that selfless mentality and to be around a guy who's like that, I mean, it's amazing. And to be able to work for a coach like that, it really is amazing. I'm looking forward to the future.
You know, I think that anytime you're able to positively affect your student athletes, and I think that obviously you sit here and listen to him talk and you understand the effect that he'll have, and he's walked in where they're walking right now. And I just think that experience for a young man is real, and I can talk to him about it. But at the end of the day, the guy that's lived it, he's lived in the hallways, he's been in the stadium, he's been in the locker room, he's been a part of this program and had great success and some tremendous adversity. And I just think you can't really understand that part of it for a young man.
Go to Josh and Josh.
Marcus. Here. Yeah. Josh Hyber with Spurs and Feathers. You talked, obviously, your role being more about off the field and what these players' lives are going to be like in their professions and all that. What are some of the misconceptions that you think college athletes have about life after football? And as a 17 or 18-year-old, was there something that you thought that your football career would be, life after football, that it obviously didn't become?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing, Coach mentioned it already. You come from a town, and you look at the whole landscape of college football, particularly in the SEC. There's a lot of rural small towns, and these rural small towns love football. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And their whole life, ever since they've been 13, 14 years old, everybody's been telling them how good they are, and you're going to make it. You're going to make it to the NFL, and when they get to become a senior and they have scholarship offers from 40 different schools, I mean, they feel that, and they get off to that school and everybody's good. Everybody's at the same level, and you got to work a little bit harder. And those guys who make it, I mean, they're special. They work harder and they take care of things in the classroom as well. But it doesn't happen for most of the guys on that roster. You know, so I mean, really, the biggest thing is bringing reality to every kid in the locker room. You know, making sure that they know you have to have something else to do, because it's not likely. I mean, I push for it, and I hope it happens for each and every kid in that locker room, but it's not. And so, just changing their perspective, really. You know, making sure they see the other side of collegiate sports and how you can use sports to your advantage, because these guys have such a huge platform. The power of sports is amazing. And there's 84,000 people that come see them every single Saturday. You can use that to your advantage because you're a role model for so many kids. And, I mean, that leads to potential careers. You know, you never know who's watching you. And you never know what you can do with the power that you have. So tapping into that potential.
Well, given what we saw with Dave Aranda at LSU recently, how much of your energy as the head coach versus maybe when you started or even when you were an assistant coach is worrying about your assistants and the kind of offers that they're going to get and keeping their pay scale in an area where you can keep your staff together?
Well, certainly there's a market out there, and it's, you know, your determination as a head coach and as an administration of what is fair in that market. So I think it's each individual coach, each individual administration, each individual school to make that decision on what they feel is fair in the market.
Will, how did you build and sort of settle on the role Kyle is going to have? Does that necessarily fit his skill set? Was that the kind of spot you were looking for? Or how do you kind of settle on that?
Well, it was really fit his skill set, and it fit what we needed. We needed more help for Coleman Hutzler on special teams, and Kyle's certainly going to be able to provide that. And then schematically, he understands who we are and what we do and how we teach things. And that teaching progression is very important to me.
Anything else for your coach? Okay. Kyle, is that right?
Coach, there's been some talk recently about revamping the redshirt rules and letting players play maybe bowl games or 4 games. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that, and do you think that's a good thing for some freshmen to kind of get some experience early?
I think absolutely. You know, and right now, and you're able to. I think the proposal is 4 games, and regardless of when those 4 games are, and I think that's fair. I think sometimes you don't really know if a young man's, none of them are, or most of them are ready, but when you put them out there, sometimes you never know how they're going to respond in front of 80,000 people, and I certainly think that to be able to pull a young man back in a situation and be able to redshirt him after that and do give them some experience their freshman year, and also for the idea of, you know, all young men are motivated by what they want to play. And if they feel like they've got an opportunity to play, certainly keeping them on task, I think, would be important.
Well, since we last spoke to you, have there been any more players who come to you and said they might want to go NFL or elsewhere?
No, we're good. I expect everybody. We have a team meeting next Monday night, and I expect everybody to be there.
Anything else for Coach Marcus?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Coach Tanner, take some questions as well.
Coach, I need to see a picture too.
Sorry, okay. Photos.
Okay, Marcus, step over, just you, Coach.
You got a picture of me?
Yeah, sure. Turn just a little bit. There we go.
Couple more, Marcus. Get the whole thing coming in. Best students.
Here, you too. Yeah, come on, doctor. Just a little bit. That's it. Come on up. Here, come up. Get everybody. Yeah. Stand up straight, Marcus. There we go. That's it. Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Stay here, Doctor. Okay. Just the 3 of you. Good.
Marcus, let's give the Spurs.
There we go. That's fine. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, just you, Marcus, just a little bit of sign. Come on up. Turn your shoulder this way. That's it. That's it. That's a nice smile.
Yeah, we do.
I was waiting on it.
Do I get an opening statement? I would just like to echo what's already been said. We're ecstatic to have Marcus and Miranda back in the family. They never went very far away, but I go back to while Marcus was talking, I called him the day before he left the West Coast to come home. And at that point, I knew that football was over for him in the NFL. And we chatted a little bit, and I said the things you would expect me to say about you're always a Gamecock, and we got a place here for you. And when I hung up, I thought to myself, that was very selfish. And my point was to Marcus, you have employment. There's opportunities to be employed when the time comes. And I think maybe what was said earlier was a little bit misled about the NCAA. With his foundation, there were things that had to be checked off before he could become an employee at the university. There was certainly no wrongdoing. It was just a protocol of his foundation that has now been cleared that gave him an opportunity to be here. But we're delighted to have him back. He's just a young man that just touches people in such a dramatic way. I was talking earlier today over in Osborne with some of our board members, you know, if you had me speak to your son, you had Coach Muschamp speak to your son, or you had Marcus Lattimore speak to your son, who does he listen to the most? And the role that he's going to assume in our football program is very, very important. You heard the numbers, but there's life after football. And I'm delighted that he's going to be serving in that role. He has a passion for it, and he's very good about it. Also, I'll segue into the coaches' contracts that have been approved by the Board of Trustees today. It's a process that I have been working on along with others for the last few weeks to get to a place that we would extend Coach Muschamp by 3 years, satisfy the assistant salary pool, take care of a couple of guys that we have here, bring in a couple of new coaches, and we're delighted to be where we are. Just 2 short years ago, we were coming off of 3 wins, and now we're coming off of 9 and a win over Michigan in the bowl game. So it's a great place. I love the job that Coach Muschamp has done here, the attention to detail, the culture, the players that believe in him. I had the opportunity to speak to his staff the day prior to going to Charlotte to play NC State. And I asked him if I could jump into the meeting room, and I'm not sure he was excited about that question. And I shared with the coaches at that time, I said, I've been to some practices, I've been a part of your camp, I've been around. You guys and your players have done everything you can possibly do to position yourself to be successful, in my estimation, for whatever that's worth. And I appreciate you. And we had a pretty good year. So I'm grateful to be where we are today, certainly grateful for Coach Muschamp and his staff. That being said, questions?
Questions? Your hand again, David, first.
Ray, how much did the current market for assistants and for head coaches kind of influence the figures that you and the board came to agree on?
Well, it certainly plays a role. Marketplace is, part of the equation, but there are so many other data points that you go to, and the personnel that you have, and the roles that they play, and the opportunities that we have going forward. I believe in continuity. I believe that gives you an opportunity for consistency. And Coach Muschamp, from the first time Charles Waddell and I visited with him, he talked about his staff. That was a priority for him. And he said, I'm not the priority. It is my staff. I'm the recruiting coordinator, but my staff is important to me. And when we get to a position that we're talking about finances for assistants, it's very important to me that I get to hire a great staff, and I feel like we do have a great staff, and excited about what's happening in 2 years.
You speak about continuity. What's your confidence level that Coach Muschamp will, from his volition, fulfill this contract and be here for a while, fulfill the length of this contract?
I think it's sometimes a hard question to answer. You see what happens around the country. There is movement. I believe, from my relationship with Coach Muschamp, Carroll, and the boys, that they're very comfortable here. A lot of good things have happened. I know Jackson's had some success at the high school level. Witt's very successful. He might be leaning toward basketball, but he's they're in a position. I think they're in a good spot. We'd like to think that 6 years is just the beginning of how long he'll be here. But you know, things happen. We know that. But if you know he has opportunities that because he's winning 11 or 12 games a year, I think we would all certainly understand the position that puts him in. But I'm excited about dealing with Coach Muschamp. We talk all the time. I probably have more communication with our football coach than any other coach, and the communication skills that he has, the way he runs his organization, attention to detail, as you guys well know. So it's very special. But I anticipate and very hopeful he'll be here for a long, long time.
As far as specifically to the assistant pool and even to Will's contract a little bit, what do you think that does as a statement, not just to the coaches you have, but also to the conference and those who are out there on where South Carolina is in relation not just to the rest of the SEC, but the rest of the country?
The word commitment is strong, and it's used in every case, whether you're talking to a student athlete, a prospective student athlete, a current one, or to your coaches, to your university, to your leadership. And it's important that we're committed at the very highest level that we can be. And Coach Muschamp was intimately involved in what we were doing with our coaching staff, not himself personally, but what would happen with the assistant coaches and trying to make sure we retain those guys in the position that we put them in. So we're committed to doing the things that we need to do. Our budget's not the same as other schools. I can't speak to what other schools do. You see marketplace, and even in marketplace, you don't necessarily always know if it is apples to apples, the different components that are involved. I've learned a lot in my years as an athletic director. I learned a little bit when I was negotiating coaching contracts as a baseball man, but this is a different level. But I feel like that what we have done with Coach Muschamp and his assistant coaches shows how strongly we are committed to our people and our program.
Coach Danner, can you shed any light on what exactly were the NCAA hangups with Marcus's foundation and kind of how they were worked through?
No, I can, and I know Chance Miller is not here today, but it's just an involvement with dealing with young people that are students who play sports. A lot of things he did in camp and the activities that he sponsored, and he was engaged with some of these guys. It wasn't a recruiting aspect, but they were of recruitable age. So I'm giving you a 30,000-foot view of that, but those are situations that you can't work at a university and also on a coaching staff, football program, and be involved in those activities. So they had to be taken out of the equation as we go forward.
Coach Danner, given how this season went, you guys, go to the Outback Bowl and win it, did you kind of consider Muschamp being ahead of schedule in terms of like when you brought him in, and were you just overly impressed and say, hey, we got to get this extension done now?
You guys know my background, and I never thought that I could win the next game or the game after that. I was always cautiously optimistic, but I saw what happened when he came into this program, and Coach Spurrier had the 3 11-win seasons. We're at a university that you can win at a high level, and when he first got here, he was inheriting a program that had 3 wins. I think it's very difficult in the sport of football, compared to a lot of other sports, to make a quick turnaround. And to get to 9 wins, yes, I'm very impressed. In 2 years, you get to 9 wins. Maybe other people feel differently. You guys study this a lot, and you have your own opinions. But I think that to be where we ended up this year, winning 9 games, playing in a New Year's Day Bowl, was a great place to be in 24 months.
Just a basketball question for you. With regards to Brian Bowen and the signing that Coach Martin did, could you shed some light on what Coach Martin, when he brought that up to you, what questions, concerns you had, and how do you see that process kind of moving forward? Coach Martin raved about Chance Miller yesterday and his trust in administration and the compliance department.
He just scored her 2,000th point last night. Did you get that? No, this was the situation certainly when it was brought to my attention, and it was vetted out at the highest level, involved a lot of people in a short period of time, and Coach Martin and I know each other very well. I believe in his instincts, and he had done some research prior to coming to me, and I'll just tell you, and I hope I don't speak out of turn, but Brian Bowen hasn't been charged with anything, and I haven't been given any information that he's a suspect in the investigation. So I know that he had a very good fall academically, and he had an opportunity to enter the University of South Carolina this spring. He has been accepted, and that's where we are. We have belief that at some point the NCAA will reinstate him. Beyond that, we don't have any definite information. We all know the transfer rules. That may be the case here. Could it be something different? Not sure. I had an opportunity to visit with a young man and his family earlier this week, and you know, we're a university that provides opportunities, and we felt in this case denying an opportunity wasn't the right thing to do. So we're moving forward.
Ray, following up on that, when will the reinstatement process begin, or has it already begun? When will you guys apply to get him reinstated?
I think that, you know, I'm going to speak out of turn. Again, Chance Miller's out of town today, but a transfer situation, you sit out a year. So if you look at the calendar, it's the spring and the fall. Could it change? It could possibly change. He didn't play in the fall, but I'm just, you know, I'm speaking out of turn here. It remains to be seen, but certainly we would, you know, be optimistic and hopeful that, you know, if it follows a normal process, that he would be able to play next spring. If it's earlier than that, fantastic.
Coach, you mentioned Asia hitting 2,000 points. I guess from a bird's eye view from an athletics department, how important has it been to have a player like her in the program and everything she's accomplished?
Marcus Lattimore. I mean, Asia Wilson, she played her high school basketball down the road here, and the way she's represented this program, the way she's represented her family, Coach Staley's program, what she's accomplished as being a part of this program. There's been a lot of other good players around her, but I don't think that you can find a women's basketball player in this country that excels at the level that she does in all capacities. She's an icon in women's basketball, and it's great to have players that achieve at a high level, but it's so special when they achieve as human beings and the character they represent. They have success academically, and they make a difference in the community, and that's what Asia stands for. And let's all make sure that in your prayers that high ankle sprain is short-lived.
Any other questions for Coach Shannon?
Mr. Whittle, no questions? You good? Okay.
Oh, that's got one.
In terms of, for lack of a better word, public relations value, bringing Marcus Lattimore back, what does it do for the university, for the profile of the athletic department, just simply by his name recognition?
We all know Marcus. You guys know Marcus. People, you know, many miles away know who he is, but people nationally know who Marcus is and the impact that he's had and what he's gone through and what he stands for. And he's just one of those young people that you speak to life after football. One of the things that has given me the most angst as the director of athletics, and I've shared this with Charles and our other senior administrators, we graduate student athletes at a high level. And their focus has been so strong in their sport. Many of them didn't have summer jobs or didn't do internships. And we missed the boat for them. We're working tirelessly. We have a Beyond Sports internship program now where we can send young men and young women out into a chosen field in the summer to get that kind of experience, because we all know that was set up here earlier, they're going to enter that professional world most likely in something other than the sport that they played. So Marcus is a real life example, but he's a person that connects, and when he's around our student athletes and he's around our football players, My opinion, it's just going to be very, very special that they're told, you know, we share great information and we have seminars and we bring in speakers. Marcus is so much stronger than that when he has an opportunity to visit with a student athlete, and the role that he'll play in Coach Muschamp's program, I think, will be very, very significant. He's a, you know, you recruit great players and you go, they're difference makers. He's a difference maker off the field.
Whenever contracts come in, people think of the B word, the buyout. What did it mean to, I guess, structure Will's buyout and the fact that you owe him the 75% over the life of the contract versus some other people that will use a raw number, things of that nature?
Honestly, it was just part of the negotiation. When Coach Muschamp came here and I dealt with his agent, same agent 2 years later, and I'd like to say that we're friends. We've had numerous conversations, but I believe part of the buyout situation is what Marketplace is all about, and I think that's where we are. I think you would all agree that when you look at some of the transactions that have happened across college football in the last few months, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, and who knows what's going to happen going forward. You know, I think we all have questions about that, but it also comes back to your individual situation and what you can afford. One of my charges as the athletics director is to run a program in the black. So at the end of the year, the numbers got to be in the right place, and that was always a part of my process. Even though I was dealing with doing contracts and paying coaches, I always had to consider that as the aspect going forward. So I feel good about where we are. I'm excited about the impact that Coach Muschamp and his staff have made here. We've added Marcus now and had a lot of success. We go back to Coach Staley's national championship and Coach Martin in the Final Four and Shelley Smith in the College Cup. A lot of good things have happened. We've positioned ourselves for success, and we'll try to continue to do that. And you have to do that by making investments.
Coach, just hopping back to women's basketball for a sec. A couple days ago, they played a game at Missouri. Then Coach Staley, after the game, submitted a complaint to the SEC about the officiating. I'm just wondering, is that something that rises to the level where you get involved with it at all, or is that just strictly Coach's decision?
See, I got through this whole deal and I didn't get in trouble. Now you're going to get me in trouble. I was involved. I take it upon myself that it doesn't matter if it's football or women's basketball or a tennis bracket. If it's part of the Gamecock family, I'm involved. And I had conversations with the league office soon thereafter and discussed some things about what transpired in the game. And you heard what Coach Staley had to say publicly. I got a chance to visit with our commissioner as well. So I'll leave it at that.
Any other questions for Coach Henry?
You guys have a great lunch.
So it was a high-end spread.
Well, now wait a minute. I made that up. I made